Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Mary Ann Petrie. This episode of Slam the Gavel is sponsored by CPS Protect Consulting Services. A child protective service case is one of the most frightening experiences for any parent. Don't face it alone. Face it with confidence with Urgent Assist by CPS Protect. You can have access to former CPS investigators to make sure you preserve your rights and protect your family. If you're facing CPS involvement and aren't sure where to turn, their child welfare consultants can help you. Visit cpsprotect.com/register. This is available in all 50 states. I have a return guest on. I am happy to have Melissa Vagle on. She was last on the podcast October 18th of 2023, season 5, episode 16, where we talked about how divorce doesn't end with divorce and how the red flags of abuse have become normalized in society. And we're going to talk about how there's zero support emotionally, financially, from anywhere, from advocates to attorneys. And the courts set this up. So I totally welcome you, Melissa Vagle. And oh, yes, one other last thing. You are going to be in my book. You're featured in my book, Raised by These Wolves, Volume 2, that will hopefully come out in June. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you back on. Oh,
Well, the subject matter, I guess, is basically just trying to use my experience and if I can open the eyes of and ears of anyone, that is my goal. Because I don't believe any lesson is done in vain. I believe that there's a purpose, and I believe that we all have a purpose. And I do believe that sometimes our trial and tribulations can be devastating in the moment. But if you think about just, I think there's like a book out there that says in 5 years. And so you can do it as a goal set, or you can do it as just life lessons. And so, of course, when you're, feel like you're drowning in the depression, drowning in the insurmountable, emotions that a person can have during, whether it be a separation, during a divorce, during the after effects of divorce, things like that, because I found that I had retaliation. So in my experience, I had dealt with my now ex-husband. He was having an affair. And when he was having that affair, that person who does not know me was able to put a restraining order on me. And I've never talked to her. I've never communicated with her. I don't even know her from anyone. I know of her because of, she presented herself during our child exchanges. But other than that, I don't know her as, anyone else in my life. But then it was a team effort of having to try and control the narrative of what he had planned. And so I don't think women realize out there that it's not just when you separate, when you divorce and things like that. There's so many elements that are at play here. There's financial, there's emotional, there's mental, there's psychological. And having a self-reflect, I would say, is number one, besides just obviously getting financially okay. I didn't have parents to move in with. My mother had passed away in 2019. So, and my dad had passed away in 1989. So I didn't have any parents to back me up. When I went through to my divorce, I had zero support from my own family. So I had new family because my friends became my family. Because when somebody is in the same situation and have the same experience or very similar, you have a different connection on a different level. And so I feel like sometimes we learn together, and sometimes some of us learn and then teach the other one. Like, okay, I've already been through this, or I'm going through that, or things like that. Whereas normally in society, it's not something about, oh, pick me, I want to tell about my experience.
right.
Like a lot of us keep quiet about it because we're ashamed and we feel shame. And I feel like there should be no shame, because in reality, these are real lives and these are real people that go through this stuff. And if you share your story, You never know. That might be that story that picks somebody else up off of, maybe an anti-suicide mission because they're so tired of life. And so I mean, that's would be my awesome message for today for others, is just to never give up.
Mhm.
Never, 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 never give up. Because not only does the enemy win, but you leave people behind that they're gonna miss you. And there's a big, huge piece of destruction that happens when somebody wants to give up. And we all know it's hard.
Mhm.
Just always open your eyes, open your ears, and open your mouth.
Oh,
Because when you do those three things, you will be prone to have help. Because if somebody doesn't know you're hurting, if somebody doesn't know that you need help, they can't read your mind. They can't know you
mhm,
need help. And so I know there's programs out there. In my opinion, there's not enough. But I think that in the last 3 years since my divorce, and now we're going on 4.5 now. Ugh. Anyways, time
wow.
flies. But I feel like there's more organizations out there now than then when I was going through my issues. Um, whether it be financial support, whether it be psychological support, whether it be mental health support, because
Mhm,
people have to realize that when they go through something so devastating,
mhm.
as because it feels like a death, but it also feels like you're being attacked while you're dying. That's what it feels like
Oh, yeah.
emotionally, because it feels like you're just being physically attacked. And it also feels like it's a issue where you're just like, can I go on, like,
Mhm,
what is my worth? And
mm.
that's why I feel like those are very valid emotions. And I feel like if you work through those, and I'm a Christian, I believe in God. I believe there's a higher source. I believe that we weren't put on here for no reason. I believe we all have souls. I do believe that we we are put here for a purpose, and I believe is to help others. And sometimes helping others has to be through our own experience. So somebody knows I've already been there. I've
Mhm.
already been down that rocky road. And those are things that I feel like people can connect on a personal level. When they know you've been there. Like, what do you know? Well, I do know. I've been there.
Right, right, and
You
sometimes,
know what I
ad
mean?
advocacy chooses you sometimes whether you like it or not.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. And sometimes you have to be creative in how you do things. You might have to stretch out meals, or you might have to use coupons, or you might have to, you know, um, do things that maybe doesn't make you feel proud, but at the same time, it gives that survival tactic of, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up, and this is only temporary. That's
Yeah.
what I had to tell myself. It's only temporary. My life is not going to be like this forever. um I don't know how many times people would tell me when I was going through my divorce, they're like, there's light on the other side. And I just thought, is there?
Yeah,
Is there?
I wondered that
Because I
too.
would love to know. I would love to know, because during my process of moving out and moving into a home and things like that, I had met so many people on my journey, buying furniture from them and
Mhm.
things like that. And I don't know how it came up, but it came up. And they would just say, I've been through a divorce. Now I'm married and happy. I've been through a divorce. Now I'm, pregnant with my new, husband, and things like that. And so I feel like God was showing me that there is a light at the end of that tunnel, and there is joy on the end of that journey. Um, it's just during the process, that's the hard part. That's the hardest part, is during that process. And then after the divorce, where you feel like you're emotionally devastated. You have to get to know that person that you left behind, because when you're married to somebody who is so abusive, you're not able to be yourself. You're not able to express yourself. You're not able to be yourself, or you're constantly being told that your opinion didn't matter, or to be quiet. They
Mhm.
heard enough. I don't know how many times I heard that.
Well, a lot of people have relatives that just stand back and say, "Well," they use the excuse, "We wanted to give you your privacy." It's like, "Yeah, sure you did. You just didn't wanna get involved."
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
that doesn't fly either.
Yeah. Or they never see the person that we saw on a daily
Oh,
basis,
right,
because
right.
they're very good at putting that cover on, and they're very good at presenting themselves to make it look like they're this person that they're not.
Mhm.
Because behind closed doors, as they say, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. And I don't mean baseball, I mean life, you know?
Like, yeah.
So, and I
Well,
realized that I have a sense of humor that I feel like was not appreciated. I feel like there's certain things that I didn't realize about my kids. And then during this process, I learned how resilient they are and how awesome they are,
mhm.
and how I feel so lucky to be a mom.
Mhm. Well, you have a lot of strength too. I mean, you were in the National Guard for 6 years too.
Yep. Yep.
I think that says a lot. That helps a lot too, in your mental framework.
Yeah, I believe that could be part of it too, because I feel like um I told myself that if I can get through this, I can get through anything,
Oh, yeah.
because it is mentally taxing and it is physically taxing. And I did it to prove something to myself, that if I could do this, then I could do anything.
Mhm.
And I think that that should be a mentality for anything in life, because I feel like there should be no reason to hold yourself back, not for somebody else and not for yourself. Like, you need to have goals and passions.
Mhm.
And if, you know what they say, if you have a passion, you don't feel like you work, because it's not a job anymore.
Right.
It's your passion, and it feels right. And there's a reason why God made us all different.
Mhm. Yeah, and we're all here on this earth to make the world a better place.
Amen.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's hard to find your purpose after something devastating like this, but sometimes it falls in your lap,
That's
you
what
know?
I believe. Because I
The
mean, I went to college to be a paralegal, and now I'm a notary. And so those are things that I would not have chased down
right?
myself. That would have not been something that I'd be like, yes, that's the realm I want to be in. But as a homeschooling mom, and as um a research junkie, I like to call myself, because I love to educate myself. I love to learn. And so I feel like these were kind of marrying those two things along with my experience.
Mhm.
So even if I help one woman or 10 women, whether it be, you know, verbal support, you know, mental support, whatever that it is, I mean, I'm that friend that you can call at 2 a.m. and I will answer.
Mhm, mhm.
You know, there's not a lot of friends out there that will answer a phone call.
Right, oh, that's for sure, that's for sure. I've taken calls from moms and dads and grandparents, and people are truly suffering from these family courts.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
I just don't know what to make of the stupidity that goes on or that's allowed to go on in there with I mean, some states have cameras in the courts, but I think they need to do better, like abolish it.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need a, a new system. That's for sure.
Mhm,
It's not set up for families that have this type of abuse, because they're, in my opinion, not educated to know that it's not a control issue. It's an abuse issue, and that these people don't stop. And that's why I want that message to be heard loud and clear, that don't give up,
mm,
because don't let them win, because your kids are going to miss you, your family's going to miss you, your friends are going to miss you. Don't ever give up. And it is hard. It
mhm,
is extremely hard, but it is normal to have those types of feelings, because sometimes it's so overwhelming. You feel like you're drowning. You feel like you're in quicksand. And sometimes you feel like you can't take a step forward and you can't take a step back. You
mhm,
just feel stuck. But that's normal. That's normal to feel that way, because it is a tragedy, and it is trauma that is induced, I believe, because everything comes to the surface. It's kind of like when somebody's been drowning for many years and suddenly they can swim. You don't know, like, where do you want to swim?
mhm,
You don't know where you want to go, but you want to go somewhere, but you're trying to figure that out, you know, because I feel like that's how you feel emotionally. I felt numb. in my marriage. I felt invisible.
Mm.
I felt unheard. I felt unloved.
Yep.
I felt like I was less than.
Mhm.
Um, I was always being made fun of because of my weight. I
Mm.
gained 50 pounds in my divorce. This is the
Oh,
biggest I've ever been. But I have to learn to um, take things as they come, and not to be so stressed out, because I feel like when we're stressed out, that's when our bodies kick in. And unfortunately, it's not like let's lose weight.
yeah, right, right. Uh, yeah, everyone has different vices for when they're under stress.
Yeah,
It's
so my issue is probably eating later than what I should,
mhm,
because I don't have appetite sometimes during the day.
mhm.
And then I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to eat.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
done that. I have forgotten to eat. I've been too busy with paperwork. I forgot to eat.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
Hmm.
Right, and I'm right with you. People cannot give up. People have, these dark feelings that come over you. It's really strange that, one night I was just like I wasn't falling asleep yet, but I just had this dark, weird feeling come over me, like, just, I don't wanna say what it was,
Yeah.
but then I just was always in a mode of prayer anyway, because
Mhm.
when you've got so many gang stalkers after you and flying
Amen. Yeah.
monkeys,
Yes.
I just said, "Okay, God, deal with these people, God," and then something said, "Live to irritate," because if I end it, they're gonna be thrilled. Then they
Yeah.
won.
They
So
win. Yeah.
so I just thought even me breathing and walking around the room ticks them off.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
hey, walk around the room, breathe, tick them
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like that's when you get to know yourself in a different kind of way. You get to know what your passions are. You get to know that person that you left behind, that they so-called fell in love with. That person is still in there. They just were hiding because they didn't feel like they could be, out in the open. And I think that's shameful. That's shameful to feel like that in that type of relationship where you can't feel like you can be yourself.
Mhm.
And so I think he just wanted like a Stepford wife or something where I just do as I'm told and just be quiet.
But these guys don't behave when they want all these demands. They just don't behave anyway. So it's a losing battle with these people. And I'm
Yeah.
not just saying guys, because I know there's women out there that are personality disorders too,
Yeah.
that good fit fathers and good fit mothers, everybody's suffering from these personality disorders, and the courts encourage it.
Yeah, because they make money. They make money off of each court case. And so to make it lopsided, I like to call it lopsided, so that it's not even. They do that on purpose so that you're having to come back to correct what should have been the right thing in the first place. And so that's why I want to just, lightly discuss that, when sometimes a woman is an at-home parent, um, that it can be financially devastating, because they made us sell our house. So we became homeless for 3 months. They did not protect any type of financial assets that were in the bank. My ex-spouse was able to go into my personal account and take money out and transfer it. When I reported it to the bank just put it back and put a fraud alert on my account. He was able to cancel my card. He left $4 in the account for when we got back. My mom had passed away, and so was about to go to the memorial. When I came back, I was doing I needed $20 for a copay, and I was unable to do that. We never had less than $10,000 in our accounts.
Yeah.
Never,
Mhm.
never less than $10,000. And then I find out that he had a secret account that had almost $30,000 in it.
Mm.
And the court didn't address that at all. They didn't address it at all. So
Uh,
they just don't look out for um I can say families, but in my experience, because I'm not a man, in my experience, it's been just an attack on women.
Mhm.
It's just been just a wholehearted attack when it comes to the evil that is out there and how these people are able to get away with what they get away with. But
Mhm.
I know that God is bigger than them. So that's why I feel like you said, just me walking around, you know, that's why I try to put a smile on my face and I try to let things go when it comes to certain things that he does try and poke, because they know the buttons to push. They know exactly how you tick and what makes you angry and things like this.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that is one thing that is a ongoing thing that I have to work on, is not to feel like the reaction is appropriate. So I went from shaking to getting nervous, crying and that sort of thing, to just kind of seeing the situation as it was and then try not to react.
Right.
But it's still a struggle. It's still a struggle because
Oh, no,
it's something you have to learn.
it's something this is how I said you have to put on an Oscar award-winning performance
Exactly.
at all times. So,
Yep.
you
I
need to
really
put
do
on
believe that is
your
like the best best advice.
your plastic smile.
Exactly. Just pretend you're Barbie and you're not talking.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah, I know, right? That's it.
yeah,
And
just
then
have a reaction.
and you sit back and you watch the stupidity unfold before your eyes because it will, and it does.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when that's the best advice I can say is never give up and always be cognizant of how you react to that other person,
Mhm,
because how you react to that other person is how they why and how they keep doing it, because they know how to get those emotions stirred up. And I feel like they don't deserve that. They don't deserve that at all, because that's taking our emotions, mixing them up, and then it's like a bag of tricks. You don't want that. You want to present yourself as a happy person, even if you're not. Like you
mhm.
said, put your best performance on.
Yeah,
Oscar winning, really.
really. There's
Yeah,
so many people that are walking around that do deserve the Oscars.
for sure. For
I don't
sure.
yeah,
On both sides, really.
right, right. Oh,
These
definitely.
two faces,
Yeah,
and just how you have to present yourself, um, just to, I call it being fake,
right,
because you got to fake it till you make it. Sometimes you have to fake it because you're just like, I don't really feel this way, but you know, I can't commit a crime right now either. So,
right, right. And you have to have a sense of humor as well.
hmm
It's
Jack
it's
broken.
it's just so important.
hmm
And, with these courts and they don't care and you were left $4 that represented you and your 4 kids your 3
3 kids.
kids, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
3. It's okay.
Yes. I just think that is truly a sign of a personality disorder. This is how a personality disorder treats the mother of his children.
Yes.
And you've got other personalities that treat the father of their children. So,
hmm
everyone is suffering.
Yep.
But who does that? Who leaves $4 in an account just to prove a point?
I mean, I don't exactly know. All I know is that that's been my experience, and that it it really, like you said, it really just points to the fact that he's unwell.
Oh, they are
Because
very
why would
yes.
you, if you're hurting the mother of your children, then you're hurting your children. They
Right.
go together. They go together. If you're mentally abusing the mom of your children, then you're that's going to trickle down to the kids. And so obviously, that's not something they care about, because if they did, they wouldn't be the way they are, and they would self-reflect, but they're unable to because they mentally cannot do it. They can't see themselves outside of themselves. They can't go back and be like, well, 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you know, you're supposed to evolve. You're supposed to be a different person than you were 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And that's one thing that I did notice, is that he was the same person, only worse.
Yes.
He
Yes.
didn't make any type of emotional changes
Right.
in almost a 20-year marriage. His solution was, I will find somebody else who will take me as I am.
And take his crap.
Obviously,
Yeah.
because I know that it doesn't last. I know it doesn't last, because as soon as I was pregnant, 2 months into our marriage, there was a different person I was dealing with.
Oh, yes. It's very sad. Even people that get engaged, that person, as soon as they put the ring on the person's finger, they turn into somebody, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Mhm.
So this happens, and young people have to be aware that of these personality disorders.
They really do. They really do. I mean, they are out there and it's not being taught, in my opinion, anywhere, not to the amount that it should be, because I feel like it should be part of anyone's curriculum, whether it be college, whether it be high school, whether it be, any of that, because I feel like if kids know the signs,
Oh, yeah.
then as they start dating, then it's going to be a different mindset than, well, maybe this isn't normal, or maybe this is normal. And always trust your gut. That's one thing I wish I would have done. I
Same.
wish I would have trusted my gut, because I can't remember if I said this in the first podcast, but what I learned going through my situation was that when I met him, I was in the Army National Guard, and so was he. And so he met me that way. And he
Mhm.
was also a part-time mailman, and that's what he does for a living, is he's a mail carrier. Um, but it was always something that I look back on and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see it. So he knew my name, what I drove, where I lived, and so much about me. I didn't know who he was. It was a smaller town. There's like 8,000 people at the time. And so I'm sure it's easy to, as a mail carrier, be like, oh, this person, I've never seen this name before. And then I had National Guard plates on my car.
Uh-huh.
And so he went and found me at the armory. I didn't know anything about him, but he knew all this stuff about me prior to me meeting him. So he sought me out, and that's what I believe, that he sought me out, because that's not something that I would have done,
Right.
to seek someone out, out that way.
Right. Right. Well, and that's why they're personality disorders, and people need to be aware when they come on too smooth.
Oh, for sure.
Ugh.
And it messes up your mindset, because I feel like then if you're in a healthy relationship after that, you're just like, is this normal?
Mm.
Because you feel like the love bombing was such a huge part of like the starting of it, and that's how we define like how they are, and in reality that's just their way of trying to reel you in, and so like you said, to put a ring on it, and then you're their property,
Mhm. Mm.
because they don't believe you should have a mind. They don't believe that you should have any thoughts. You shouldn't have any type of beliefs. You shouldn't really be a human. You're just a property just to serve them. That's how I felt. Like I felt like a slave in my own home. And yeah.
Yeah. It's okay to return rings. If you're if you're dating and you become engaged to someone and you have to give the ring back, give it back. There's no embarrassment in that. And if you meet somebody else and it seems to be going well, and they give you a ring, and then they turn into Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, give the ring back. I remember being a bank teller, and a woman came to my window and she says, "Oh, you're not wearing that beautiful ring." And I said, "I gave it back. He wasn't treating me right." And she said, "I wish I would have done that. I've been stuck in this marriage for 20 some years, and he's been nothing but, treating her bad." She said, "I'm really happy for you that you gave it back. So don't be afraid to give stuff back."
Yep, and that's okay. That's totally okay, because just that little but big decision can affect the rest of your life, because you
Forever.
kids into the world, and I feel like that is a big stepping stone, that people have to realize, even if you're already at the altar. I
Oh.
mean,
Mhm,
whatever it takes, you can walk away. You have that right, and
mhm.
you deserve that as a human, is to make a healthy and mindful decision that will affect you and maybe others, because if you have children and things.
Right, right. I've talked to several moms and dads that have said the night before the wedding, they just wanted to call it off.
Mm,
And it's like, wow. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of us that felt the same way.
yeah. Another thing that I noticed too is the honeymoon was nothing like what I thought it would be. So like the day that we got married was supposed to be like this, you know, thing, because we went and got married in Jamaica and things like that. And on the day that we got married, he drank so much he got sick.
Yeah.
So there was no physical anything. There was no whatever you want to call it to make a
Yeah.
person feel like, oh, I just officially got married to somebody. And, nope, that was taken away because there was no intimacy at all. So I felt that too is a connector, that there is zero intimacy. The intimacy they see is just the physical part of it, but there's no emotional connection there in my mind and
Right.
how I.
Because they're emotionally unavailable at all times.
Yeah, because I feel like when they want it, that's when they want it, and that's not how it's they don't care about how you feel.
Right, right. I just think, these personality disorders, you can't tell them anything because everything's your fault anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they get help. They have to, I guess, have a breakdown and seek it out.
Well, there's some men out there, I haven't heard any women, but I've heard of some men where they feel like they had to, I don't want to say come to Jesus. That's maybe not the right terminology, but where they literally had to come to terms with their own self because they know what they're doing. They know it causes harm. They know exactly what they're doing, but they have to actually rise above all of that. And it's almost like having a demon on your shoulder.
Oh.
It's like having a demon on your shoulder, and they're saying, just keep on keeping on,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I'm not saying it's not easy or hard because I'm sure it's both. It's easy just to keep on keeping on because that's all they know. But the hard part is to say, you know what? No, I want something better. I want to fight for my family. I don't want my wife to leave me. I don't want to start a new relationship with somebody else. I don't want to make new memories. I want to appreciate what God gave me.
Mhm.
So I think if men had that thought process versus, yeah, I'll just move on.
Mhm, mhm.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. Yeah, put some thought into it.
Exactly.
Think about it and do the right thing,
Exactly.
And then, your story is gonna be is so awesome in this book that's coming out, Raised by These Wolves Volume 2, because you really said a lot that people need to know about. These are the red flags that could save you years of heartache.
Exactly. I mean, one thing that I didn't notice at the time, but of course with self-reflecting, is another thing is that, so I was in the military. I love my job.
Mhm,
And that was one thing that even though he met me doing that, that's one thing he wanted to take away. So
mhm.
that's one thing I noticed is not only do they want to move you away from your family, so you have zero friends, zero connections, zero all that stuff, and make it seem like they're helping you. But the other thing I noticed is that when you want to have a career or you have a career or you're already in the career, that's something they want to take away from you.
Right,
Is they
yeah,
want to destroy you emotionally,
mhm,
financially, psychologically, and make you feel like you have zero skills. So
right,
that when and if you want to ever leave them, they're gonna feel like, well, now you're nothing. And
right,
that's not true. We're not nothing. We always have skills. All of us have some type of skill of something, of some sort.
mhm.
And so I feel like that was a big stepping stone that I had to realize that back then. That's one reason why he wanted me to be pregnant right away. That's one reason why, he wanted to present the fact that he wanted to have a family right away, is so that we would have someone else to care for, and I would have to choose between my career and being a mother.
Mm.
And I feel like that's crappy, because I feel like if they can do both, why can't we do both?
Right, right. And to have you quit your career is another way of controlling you in case you decide, gee, this isn't working out. I've caught on to the game, I'm leaving, and you would have an income. So isn't that just convenient?
Yep. Yep. I definitely think that it's all connected. It's all connected, and it's like connecting the dots. So when you're in the moment, you can't really connect the dots, because I feel like the best book out there that I would say that has like the description that is needed is the Walking on Eggshells, because you really do feel like the invisible eggshells are there.
Oh, they are. They are
They
really.
really are.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I forgot about that book. That's a good book.
Yeah, so I feel like that is definitely a good one. And then the Wizard of Oz. I can't remember the name of the book, but it has the Wizard of Oz reference in it, and it talks about different personality disorders and how the man behind the curtain is not who you think they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your case, in my case, well, we were married to men, and so that was, we didn't know the man behind the curtain.
No.
We literally had no idea who they are. I don't think they know who they are, because
Right.
they lie so much. They lie so much every single day about who they really are. I don't think they even know what's the truth and what's not the truth, because they lie so much.
Right. Right. Yeah, they started to begin to believe their own lies, where it becomes just a natural part of a perpetual liar, like my opposing attorney, just continuous lying and
Mhm.
believing it's right due to cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, because a person that can self-reflect can be like, that's not who I am. That's not how I wanted to treat my kids. That's not how I want to have a relationship, with my now ex-spouse and my children. I
Mhm,
mean, because doesn't care. I mean, as soon as our older kids were like, we don't want to take this abuse anymore,
mhm.
he didn't want to make any changes. Our kids even told him to his face, you need to make changes. We need you to get therapy. You need to get some help. And he just said that it was their fault, and that he didn't need to make any changes.
Yeah, the blame
And then he
shift.
showed with his actions that his change was a new woman and marrying her. So, yep, they just don't care. They
No.
don't care at all. I really, really don't think. I think it's just for them to feel somewhat normal to have a family, but in the essence of having a family, they don't care.
Well
They don't
said,
care.
well said. And I remember another nurse taking me aside saying, "However he treated you, that is how he's treating the second wife."
Mhm.
And she said that she's a second wife and she sees it all now.
Oh yeah, I know it's gonna blow up, but I mean, at the same time, I don't feel bad for her, because she was married at the time when I was going through my
Mm,
divorce from my spouse. And I'm sorry, but they both deserve their karma. They both deserve what they're gonna get, because if you're gonna be dating somebody who's already married and separated and things like that, I
mhm,
wanted to not get a divorce. I wanted to work on it, and I really truly, in my Christian mind, wanted to believe that he could change, and that if he had this type of situation come, that he would care about us.
mhm.
And I learned the hard way, and the big hard lesson, that I don't think he ever loved me. I think it was just fake, and I think that it was just all lies,
Mhm.
because no one that would truly love somebody else would ever treat them this way, ever.
Right, right.
Not on purpose, and not feel no remorse.
Yeah, the no remorse thing scares me because that's a sign of a, s psychopath. I know there's sociopaths and psychopaths are born, but
Mm.
oh, how's that go? Sociopaths are made and psychopaths are born? I get that switched around. But yeah, it's the same thing. Might as well
Yeah,
be.
yeah. And I think that they present themselves as this Christian whatever person,
Oh,
and
yeah.
reality,
Yeah.
I believe my ex-husband is an atheist. That's what I believe.
Oh, yeah,
I
mine is
truly
yeah.
believe that. I don't believe that he believes in God. I don't believe that I think it's all just a ruse, and I
Yeah.
think it's all just for him to make himself look or feel better in the moment, because in reality, you don't go and treat your family that way and then try to go to church and act like, you're this person. That's not
Yeah,
how it works. I
I
mean,
hate
this gal even moved in with my ex-husband during our divorce. I mean,
well,
I don't know how she thinks that she's not going to get her karma, because it's coming. It's coming. Because
it
if you're going
is.
to go and take someone else's husband and not allow that separation and that what's a word I want to say, like where you're ending it. You know what I mean?
Ending it and allowing the kids to grieve over the loss of their watching their parents be married.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like these, whether it be men or women, for them to do that, that also shows that they have issues, because they can't be alone.
Right.
And so
Right.
when they latch on to somebody else, like you said, it's going to happen to that person too, because they can't hide. The real person comes out. So
I'm so glad we had this conversation because I'd like to have you back on again. Because that's words of wisdom that everyone needs to know about. And is there anything else you would like to add?
I literally just want to say that I'm so thankful for having this opportunity, because, you know, um, not that my voice is so important, but sometimes I feel like I might reach somebody that I would have never reached. So using your platform is such a awesome experience, and I just want to thank you for letting me be a guest again.
Well, your voice is very important because I hope there are some young people listening to this and things start clicking in their minds about someone they're getting serious about.
Yeah. And just know that no matter what happens in life, never feel like you're alone, because I feel like there's always, not never, but always someone else out there that's been through what you've been through.
Right.
So always, in my experience, I have had so many experiences through this divorce and after divorce and things like this, that I had no idea that this even existed, because you feel alone. You really, really, really feel alone. And
Mhm.
so you don't feel like anybody's going to understand. And that's not the truth. The truth is, there's people that have been down that road 20 years ago, 5 years ago,
Mhm.
going through it now. So it literally is that big a deal. It really is a big deal, is to never give up, to always feel like you matter, and we're here for a purpose.
Yes, and we're here to help each other through
Yeah.
this weird
Kindness,
stuff. Right, right.
showing kindness, showing empathy, compassion.
Exactly. And it's so lacking in this world today as well.
It
So
sure is.
you'll be back, but hey, don't jump off. Okay, Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I am your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth, and Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, Anchor FM, other platforms I don't know about. Feel free to buy me a coffee to keep this podcast going. And thank you, Melissa Vagle, for coming on and talking about all sorts of things we all should know about. Thank you so much.